Okay, so it's 2025, and the global race for AI dominance is absolutely on fire. And we're not just talking about, faster computers or some cool new apps. No, this is a massive, high-stakes showdown. We've got nations, giant corporations, and even entire ideologies all battling it out for control over what is, without a doubt, the most transformative technology of our lifetime.
I mean, the whole landscape right now is just this whirlwind of innovation. Seriously, it feels like new, more powerful large language models are dropping almost every week. And each one just completely shatters the boundaries of what we thought was possible. The competition between the world's biggest players has never, ever been this intense.
So, that brings us to the big question, right? Who is actually winning this thing? It sounds simple, but trust me, the answer is, well, it's complicated. What does winning even mean here? Are we talking about pure, raw performance? Who's got the biggest market share? Or is it about a whole different kind of influence? That's what we're going to dig into. We're going to break down the leaders, the up-and-coming challengers, and even the wild-card disruptors to really figure it out.
So here's how we'll break it all down. We'll start with the big guys, Team USA. Then we'll jump over to the challengers, Team China. After that, we'll look at a real disruptor, Europe's Mistral. Then it's showdown time. We'll put them all side by side and look at the numbers. And to wrap it all up, we'll take a peek into the future at the race to 2026.
All right, first up, Team USA, the Titans. Look, these guys came into 2025 as the undisputed leaders. I mean, they're backed by just enormous amounts of money and have computational power that's pretty much unmatched. They really set the pace, and everyone else has been playing catch-up.
So who are we talking about? Well, the field is really dominated by four major players: OpenAI, Google, Anthropic, and xAI. And when I say they're backed by capital, I mean a staggering amount. Get this, over 70% of the entire world's private AI investment this year has gone to them. Their whole strategy is basically built around creating these huge, closed-source models aimed right at big business.
Leading the charge, of course, is OpenAI's GPT 5.2. This thing is the benchmark everyone's trying to beat. It has something like 2 trillion parameters, and if you're wondering what that means, just think of them as tiny little dials that help the AI learn. It's an absolute powerhouse that can handle text, images, and code all at once. But here's where it gets interesting. Despite all that power, its market share with big companies has been sliced in half, from 50% down to just 25%. That tells you everything you need to know about how fierce this competition has gotten.
And right on their heels, Anthropic's Claude 4.5. They've carved out a really smart niche for themselves. They're all about AI safety, but where they really shine is coding. I mean, they are the undisputed king. Claude 4.5 just dominates the HumanEval benchmark. You can think of that as basically the Olympics for AI coding. It's the gold standard, and everybody else is trying to catch up.
Okay, so while the US Titans were building these massive, closed-off walled gardens, a new challenger was showing up with a totally different game plan. So let's shift gears and talk about Team China. These are the challengers, and man, they are closing the gap fast, embracing open source and just iterating at lightning speed.
China's big push is being led by a group people are calling the Five Tigers. We're talking Deepseek, Alibaba with their Qwen model, Zhipu's GLM, Moonshot's Kimi, and of course, ByteDance with Doubao. They're tapping into these huge domestic datasets and strong government support to build some incredibly competitive models, and they're doing it at a breathtaking pace, just erasing that performance gap with the US. And this is where their strategy just takes a complete left turn from the US. Instead of that closed-off proprietary approach, China has gone all in on open source. Think about it. By releasing their models out into the wild for free, they've basically turned the entire world into their R&D department. You've got this global army of developers constantly testing, tweaking, and making things better, which just accelerates innovation for everybody.
And let me tell you, this open approach gets results. Just look at ByteDance's Doubao 1.6. It's an absolute beast, especially when it comes to understanding images and scientific reasoning. It processes, wait for it, 16.4 times trillion tokens of data every single day. And tokens are basically just pieces of words. That's just an insane scale. It's a perfect example of how China isn't just copying, they're creating highly specialized world-class models.
Okay, so we've got the US Titans and the Chinese challengers. But what if this race isn't just about being the biggest? What if it's about being the smartest? Well, that brings us to our third player, the disruptor, Europe's Mistral AI. See, these guys aren't trying to outmuscle the giants. Nope. They're trying to outthink them by building some of the most efficient AI models on the entire planet. Mistral's whole strategy is really a masterclass in work smarter, not harder. First, they're obsessed with performance to cost ratio, giving you the most bang for your buck. They're also big on openness and transparency. A huge focus for them is edge computing, making models that are lean enough to run on your own devices. And of course, they do it all while playing by Europe's very strict privacy rules.
And their flagship model, Mistral Large 3, is the perfect proof. It's small, but it is mighty. This thing achieves performance that's right up there with the American giants, but it does it using just a fraction of the power. And that efficiency, that's the real game changer here. It means you can run their AI right on your own laptop, maybe even your phone, no giant data center needed. And that opens up a whole new world, a powerful, totally private, and way cheaper alternative.
All right, so we've met the teams. Now it's time for the showdown. Let's cut through all the hype and get right down to the numbers. We're going to look at the hard data and see how these models actually stack up when you put them head to head.
Okay, first up is the MMLU benchmark. You can think of this as a huge, comprehensive exam that tests an AI's general knowledge and reasoning. And yeah, you can see the US model, GPT 5.2, is still holding a small lead. But that's not the real story here. The real story is just how incredibly close this race has become. Look at that. China's Deepseek and Europe's Mistral are right on its tail. That massive performance gap that used to exist, it's pretty much gone.
Now let's switch gears to a really specific skill, coding. On this one, the US model Claude 4.5 takes the top spot. No surprise there, we knew it was a beast at coding. But check this out. The real surprise is the rest of the podium. You've got two different Chinese models, Deepseek and GLM, battling it out for second place. This is huge. It proves China isn't just a contender in general knowledge. They are catching up incredibly fast in super technical areas too.
So what all this data really shows us is this deep philosophical divide in the whole AI race. It's really a battle of ideas. On one side, you've got China and Europe going all in on open source. This is all about speeding up innovation for everyone, and it's working. Chinese models are all over the leaderboards on Hugging Face, which is kind of the world's town square for open source AI. But on the other side, you have the US, focused on closed systems. For them, it's about profits, big corporate clients, and keeping tight control over safety. It's that classic matchup, open collaboration versus proprietary control.
Okay, I know this looks like a lot, but what you're seeing here is basically the master scorecard for the entire global AI race. It lays out all the key players and their stats. You've got model size, performance on different tests, whether they're open or closed, the whole shebang. Now, we're not going to go through every single number here, but the big takeaway is crystal clear. There isn't one single winner anymore. This has become a multipolar world. Each region has carved out its own unique strengths. So 2025 was a wild ride, for sure. But honestly, it was just the warm-up. So what's next? Let's look ahead to 2026 and talk about the huge trends that are going to define the next chapter of this competition.
Believe me, the pace is not slowing down one bit. Early in the year, we're expecting the US to drop next-gen models like GPT-6. Then, by the middle of the year, China is projected to double its number of open-source models. Just double it. And as we head towards the end of 2026, keep an eye on Europe. Their AI investment is set to jump by 30%, which is just going to pour more fuel on the fire for disruptors like Mistral.
And it's not just about the new models. There are 4 huge overarching trends you've got to watch. First, multi-modality. AI that gets images, sound, and text. That's just going to be the new standard. Second, with all this money pouring in, you're going to hear a lot more chatter about a potential AI bubble. Third, politics. Things like chip bans could really throw a wrench in the works for everybody. And finally, the big tough questions about energy consumption and AI bias, they're moving from the footnotes to the headlines.
So, this all leaves us with one last, really critical question to think about. This insane global race is without a doubt pushing technology forward faster than ever before. But as AI gets woven deeper and deeper into the fabric of our lives, you have to ask yourself, is all this competition going to end up lifting everybody up together, or is it just going to build new walls that divide us even more? The answer to that, well, it's not just going to decide the winner of the AI race, it's going to define the future for all of us.